Welcome back to Ascend Growth AI podcast. Today I'm excited to welcome Gal Szekely, the founder and leader of the Couples Center for solving problems and helping organizations grow with intention and clarity. Gal brings a unique blend of strategic thinking, leadership experience, and real-world execution, especially when it comes to scaling businesses, navigating industry shifts, and staying ahead of the curve in a rapidly changing market. In this conversation, we'll explore Gal's journey, what he's learned along the way, what is driving growth today, and how technology, including AI, can be leveraged to reach more customers and reduce missed opportunities. Good morning, Gal. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing really well. Nice to be with you, Nikki.
Very good. To start us off, can you tell us about the company and your journey that led you to building it? What problems were you most compelled to solve?
Right. By profession, I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm a psychotherapist. And I got to this work really from the desire and the passion to help people grow in all the different directions, and personally, relationally, even also in terms of passion and organization. I used to be a management consultant before I became a psychotherapist. And so I'm really passionate about like what makes people grow and how can we live a fulfilling life. One of the things I recognized earlier in my career as a psychotherapist is that relationships are a big problem for people. I've also been in a relationship for over 23 years, so I also know it from personal side. And I also saw that it's a crucial point for people. Relationships are a crucial point. Usually, when you have problems in your romantic relationship, is a big deal, and there's a lot at stake, and because marriages, families are all at stake. And it takes a very high skill and high level of person to work with that, actually. And most psychotherapists actually out there specialize more in working one-on-one with people, more individual work, and not so much couples work. And so pretty early on, I realized I like this. I'm inspired by my own relationship with my wife. I see the need for it, and I see the type of the specific personality and the specific knowledge and skills that are needed for it. So I decided to specialize in it and created the Couple Center. It was 2011, basically specializing in working with relationships. And over time, it grew to have a big staff of therapists that work with us. We have workshops and online courses. And so we expanded also our services and our reach over time.
Very good. And it is, I agree with you. If you have a strong family, you can take on the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
Looking back, what were some of the pivotal moments in your career that shaped you as a leader?
I think really there's so many moments because I sit day in and day out with people's challenges and with their aspirations and dreams. You know what? I'll start way before my career. I got into this profession because when I was 13, let's go very, very young. When I was 13, I experienced a period of social isolation as a young teenager. So a lot of my friends turned against me. I was very alone for a while. I was popular before, and suddenly I was alone, and I couldn't figure it out and couldn't understand what's going on. It was really painful. And so I started looking for answers. I was starting to I asked, some of the adults and my parents and my teachers what to do, and I didn't get any good answers. I just felt like I got to figure this out on my own. Like I have to understand myself. I understand why is it happening to me. I understand what's wrong for me or why people are doing this with me, and what do we do differently. And so this has really started my journey. So my journey really started at age 13 that really led me eventually to work in this and to be curious about this whole field of personal growth, mental health, well-being, fulfillment, and also specifically relationships. And so that was the beginning. That's the origin. But later on, when I was a psychotherapist, and especially when we're talking about working with couples, I remember sitting as a young intern with a couple who seemed so much loving each other. The young couple, it was like early 30s, no family yet, and they were screaming their head off at each other. And then something in me was just, I was sitting there and I was just like, first I had to get through the intensity of it. But second, I was just wondering, like, what's really going on here? What is causing this problem? And can I find a simple, accessible way to understand what people are going through? Like, what are their main challenges and how to help? So this has really started my investigation of not just doing good work, but how to understand it, how to create the right models for it, how to be effective in this work. And then later on, I created a lot of different approaches, and I teach those approaches, and so I started teaching them to other therapists and providers, etc. And so that fascination of like, wow, people are having so much struggle, and they like each other, and they want to be close to each other, but somehow it doesn't work. And how can I help them solve this? Was one of the pivotal moments, let's say it this way, in terms of my interest in this.
That's awesome. Were there specific challenges or turning points that pushed you towards entrepreneurship or leadership at a higher level?
Yeah, so before being a therapist, I worked in the tech world. I was a marketing and product manager in the tech world. So that spirit of being in startups and trying to take not just to trying to take an idea and make it happen and grow a company was already part of inside of me. And so when I became a therapist, I knew that I wanted to also add something beyond just the work with my clients. I wanted to create a bigger impact, and I wanted to bring a little bit of my business skills. I still see myself more as a coach and a therapist than a business person, but I wanted to bring some of it together. And so that inspired me. I saw that there's the need. I saw that there's demand. And the services are not so great by many people, and so I just started growing this. I started with like few people, 3 people working with me, and trying to help me, and end up with like 50 people who working and doing it together. And so yeah, I just was trying to bring the things that I'm interested in together.
That's amazing. Do all of your therapists that you work with mirror you?
Yeah, each one of them has their own personality and also some of their own background, but at the same time we also train them. So we've developed our methodology and our tools over the years, and so we also train them in our approach. And so we have some of the common language and common approach, but we also like that every person also has their own thing and their own background. So
Yeah.
diversity is also very good.
Yeah, that's neat. How would you describe your leadership style today and how has it evolved over time?
Well, since we're a relationship oriented business, what's really important for us is a relationship with people. And so the small staff who actually runs the business with me, we really feel like family. Every time we meet, we start with like a real personal check-in. How are you doing? What's happening in your life? What's happening in your marriage? What's happening with your kids? We really try to make a lot of space for people's needs. If something comes up and they cannot work for the next week or so, like we try to be very flexible about it and remember that relationship comes first. And so I think that's a lot of what we do. And also with our team of therapists, we try to coordinate with them a lot and hear their opinions and work with them and see what each one of them need. Yeah, I would say that's the main approach that we're thinking about.
What have been some of the hardest leadership lessons you've had to learn as you've grown in the business?
One of the things I saw when I was also a management consultant. So I started in the tech world. I was a management consultant for a while, and then I became a psychotherapist. So I moved from business to half business, half psychology, to more psychology. That was my trajectory. One of the things I saw when I was a management consultant, and then it took me a while to realize it's also true for myself, is that every leader is limited by their own self. Okay, so what the leader of the company is good at, the company is going to be good at. What the leader of the company is not good at, the company might have trouble around. And so you have to learn to recognize your own limitations, and you have to find a way to compensate for them by having other people who that's their strength to support you. And I saw it on other organizations I worked with, but it took me a while to see it about myself. But I realized at some point, yeah, there's certain things I'm really good at and there's certain things I'm not. It's like, for example, I'm really a thought leader, and I'm really good at like taking ideas, making them accessible, building really transformative experiences. We do a lot of workshops and retreats, for example, for couples, and people come to us. I was just actually this morning looking at a testimonial video from one of our last workshops, and people are basically coming in after 2 days and telling us like, you saved our marriage, which is amazing and so fulfilling. And so I'm really good in creating those things. I realized that in the administration of the business or the finances of the business, that's not my strength, actually. I like to create it. I like to think about it. I like to give the direction, but I'm not good in the actual running and execution of it. And so, for example, we hired someone that over the years became our operation managers, and then I'm business manager. And so she complements some of my skills. My wife is a co-manager together with me. She's also a psychotherapist. She brings different skills. I'm more of the strategy and the direction. She's more of the people person, and she runs the team of our therapists and in contact with all of them. And so, yeah, learning to just complement where I'm not the strongest.
That's awesome. You're the creator, she's the doer, and you need an accountant. And that's so true in every business. I think entrepreneurs are the most successful when they figure out what their strength is, stay in their lane, and hire for the other, because then you are doing what you wanted to do in the very beginning. And that's where the power is.
Yeah.
What has been some of the hardest leadership lessons you've learned as you've grown your business?
Since we try to lead with more relationship first approach, one of the things I learned that the downside of it sometimes is that you might not give enough feedback to people, and you might not let go of people when you need to. I think we hung on to people and try to really help them grow and be better over time, and then it's okay until a certain amount of time. And then at some point you have to more realize, like, okay, it's not the right fit, and we have to say goodbye, and we have to find someone else, and we have to kind of move on. And I think for a long time we took too long to do that, and so we suffered, the organization suffered more, and eventually also the person suffered, because if someone is not in the right position and they're not really performing that well, they know it and they feel it, and it's not good for them and it's not good for the organization. So that's one, I think, hard lesson. Another one, I think, is the shifting of the landscape and on the market. I think that's one of the things we're doing now. For example, our business was the bigger part of our business over the years has been the more psychotherapy side, the couples counseling side, right? The more that side of the business. And we're seeing, in the field today that it becomes saturated and there's a lot of competition. And so the uniqueness starts to get lost. And so we're in the middle of a pivot of focusing much more on our workshops and online courses, and bringing a really different message and a different service to people. Instead of telling people, like, you go and you do one-on-one couples counseling and you focus more on your problems, etc., we're changing it to say, like, we can help you grow through different courses and online programs that really teach you skills, and that also teach you the joy and the connection and the skills, and not just work on the problems. And so we're changing the message, we're changing the way we're delivering our service. We're going to do one-on-one coaching, but it's going to be part of a bigger program. And so we're bringing more innovation. We're planning to include AI in this. And so this is definitely exciting and also challenging time. Is like we're pivoting, we're changing our message and our main services and how we deliver them.
It's so true. I think that nobody teaches skills. They don't teach you how to have the skills to be a parent. They don't teach you how to have skills in a relationship. They don't even teach you skills on how to be effective at work, right? And you're always working with people with different personalities. And if we learned the skills, we can take whatever it is that's on the other side and communicate more clearly, or do things within ourselves to help us be able to communicate in a way that's effective. I think you're spot on. It's not about diagnosing the issue. It's about figuring out how to communicate your way out of it in a way that lets you lead a healthy life in all areas.
And learning to adjust and understand different people and different personalities and how to work with them.
Yeah. And know your own love language, right?
That's actually a topic of an upcoming book that I'm going to be presenting.
Is it?
You bring this up.
I already knew that. It's
Yeah,
very important.
a lot of people these days know about the 5 love languages. It's really, really popular. And, Dr. Chapman, who created it, has done a huge service in terms of letting people know that each person might have a certain template of what makes them feel loved.
Right.
I realized over my years, I've worked with thousands of couples and individuals. I've realized that there's something missing in that model. It's not complete.
Very good.
And so I've created something that's a little more complete, that looks not just about what you want your partner to do or other people to do, but also how it makes you feel. It adds it's like important dimension of, like, what are the feelings we're after. And I call it the love code. And I'm really at the end of editing a book right now that will come out soon in the coming year.
That's fantastic. Well, I will read it and I will promote it for you, because that's amazing. That is amazing. I know my assistant's love language, and I make sure that I touch on that every single day, and she moves mountains for me. I couldn't do it any other way than the way that I do it, because I know how it makes her feel, And that's true. There, back to your book. I know how it makes her feel.
How it makes her feel, yeah. So what you do is kind of a proxy for how it makes you feel.
Yep. And when you meet that feeling, and they will give you a lot of grace and latitude as well. There's a patience that comes out when your needs are met.
Yeah.
That's
really, by the way, that's an important message. If people who are watching this are business owners or leaders in the business, I think that's actually a really important message that most people don't understand. We're not motivated by the thing itself. We're motivated by how it makes us feel.
Yep.
Right.
100%.
Giving every person, for example, a raise or a promotion might work for some people really well, and for other people it doesn't, because what they're looking for might be mostly different. Like, I want to feel appreciated. Maybe my way of being appreciated is different than just getting a raise. It's more me getting the good words from you. Or maybe for some other people, it's I want to feel challenged. I want to feel that I have interesting project, and that's the biggest reward for me, because that feeling is important to me. And so understanding that people are really motivated by the way they want to feel, and then understanding how each person that works for you, how do they want to feel, that's actually the most important leadership skill.
I think your book will be very good to teach people what to look for, because not everybody knows what to look for. That's great. I look forward to your book. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it'll be a huge hit.
Thank you.
Who's the ideal customer for your company today, and how has that definition changed as you've scaled?
When we're talking about the kind of couples and relationship, our ideal person are professionals, people who are like usually like between 35 to 50 or 55. So it's people who've already matured enough and are usually in stable or long-term relationships. And they also have enough, they're usually people who have some education and some background, that they already read some books. Some of our style and our way of working is more unique. We use mindfulness. We use the body-mind connection. We use a lot of things that are more in the forefront, I think, of psychotherapy and personal growth these days. We look at also a combination of psychology and spirituality. So a lot of the time, our ideal clients are people who've had some experience. They're pretty educated and had some experience in personal growth, or at least read something or heard something about that, and they understand the uniqueness of this, and they're looking for this. They're looking for a bigger lens, more of a personal growth lens. They're not looking for just like, okay, just let me, how do I get through the next day? They're looking for like, okay, I get I'm having some troubles. I understand I need to learn about myself through the process. I understand that this is a growth process for me and for my partner. Many of them has like 1 or 2 kids also. Some of them are before having kids, but a lot of people come to us, they're after, they already have 1 or 2 kids, and that's definitely affect the marriage and makes you more motivated to like, we got to work on this, for ourselves, for our kids. Yeah, I would say.
Is your geographic market national? Is it international? Are you expanding it?
Well, for the counseling side, we're mostly located in California. Most of our therapists, so psychotherapy is a license is by the state, and so most of our people, most of our reach is in California. But as we're focusing more and more on our workshops and coaching and online courses, our reach becomes global, basically. And so we're in that way, we're working with most people in the US. We haven't had a reach more outside of the US recently, but in the US for sure.
Do you do sessions, online sessions like Zoom sessions, or are they pretty much all face to face?
It's a combination. We have both a combination of online and in person. So it depends on the person, depends on the provider who works for them.
What major industry trends are impacting your growth strategy right now, and how are you actively mitigating those challenges or adapting to them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's a few big ones. One is that mental health has become a very lucrative field. There's more and more attention to it, and there's more and more money spent on it. And the result of it is that a lot more bigger companies are coming into the field. And it's been like this for the last maybe 5 years or 6 years. More like venture capital backed companies are becoming into it. And so the competition has grew much stronger. And there's also been more of a trend with some of the big companies of trying to really lower the costs, like to become like the Uber of psychotherapy, for example. And so that's a big trend we've seen. And that's why I'm saying it's impacted what we're seeing in terms of the counseling, that we see that it's harder and it's more competition for a small business or medium-sized business in the field. And so our search for more uniqueness, and also for honestly also asking like, what are we really passionate about? And realize that my wife and I, that we both run this business, we're really passionate about this really direct people, contact with people through our workshops and our transformational programs, and seeing things happen more effectively and faster in that format. And so we realize both our passion and it seems like our way to respond to the field and the change in the field, and bring something that's more unique and an interesting voice, and to be able to reach more people, sometimes with lower costs, right? Because one-on-one therapy takes longer time and it's more expensive, versus if you go to a group experience, you can also lower cost in that way. Yeah. And so that's something that we're again, actively pivoting and changing and working on right now. So that's one trend that really changed. The second trend that we're seeing right now, and I think we're all learning what's going to happen with it, is the AI trend, right? And so I've heard from many experts in the AI field that the number one use that people do with ChatGPT today is your personal coach or therapist. And so above everything else, people talk to ChatGPT and tell them about themselves and about their day and about their problems and get feedback from ChatGPT. And that's really changing the field. We're only starting to understand how. It's definitely changing our field. And I think it's a good thing for one side, because I think it makes it accessible to people who have not been going, would not have gone for therapy before. I think there's going to still be a need for a person to help you with people who are wants more in depth and wants more of the personal contact and need that for their healing and their growth. I think it's not going to go away, but I think it will make the market bigger, I think, in some way. But it also is like we're trying to see how do we incorporate those tools in. And so we're taking, for example, all of our knowledge and our information from our workshops and all the tools that we created. We're putting this with the AI, and we're playing with this right now. We're learning to see, like, can we create something that people between their sessions or when they have questions, they can reach AI and ask and get answers in our style, in the way we want to teach people. Right. And so that's the direction we're trying to start incorporate AI into this. And I think in the next few years, we're going to learn more about it. It's definitely a revolution.
How are you currently using AI or automation in your business, if at all?
Yeah, so right now we're just in the experimentation phase with AI. We haven't really launched it yet to people, so we're experimenting by bringing, as I said, all of our knowledge into it and seeing, like, if we simulate being a client asking questions, like what's missing, how's it going, and this is a use we're going to roll out in 2026 with it. And so when people are taking our program, they have like their 24/7 coach with them that they can talk to in between sessions or in between sessions with our therapist. There's other small ways that don't impact the clients as much. For example, a therapist needs to do session summaries. And so we're starting to look into incorporating an AI tool for summary of a session. It should, roll out in the next few months also in our business. And so it just helps the therapist, in like tasks that they need to do on a daily basis.
It frees them up to be able to just spend their mental time working with the clients and let the AI recap it for you. You can always go back in and do the tweaks to it and make sure that it's accurate. But if you could get the most of it already printed out for you, it really takes a lot of time out of your day, which would be fantastic.
And I think there's going to be another step after that, which is like if you had enough sessions with the client, you can consult with your AI saying like, okay, so here's what I'm thinking about the next steps here. And see, maybe you missed something, or maybe I can say, hey, but you remember in that session they were saying this and that. Maybe you should incorporate that. And so you can actually make that as your assistant.
Yeah, a colleague. That's awesome. Yeah. Where do you wish AI or technology was doing more heavy lifting for you today?
If there was a way that AI will actually help me get the right kind of clients in my door, that would have been wonderful. Like if people can go and talk to AI or ChatGPT, etc., and do whatever they need, and when they're ready for the kind of services that we're doing, and when they're the kind of person that is ready, that is the right type of person for us, that they will find us and say, okay, now I want to do what you are doing. That would be amazing.
When it comes to customer acquisition and lead flow, where do you see the biggest leaks, the places where opportunities are being lost?
Our business has been mostly relying on actually organic search over the years. We've done a lot in a lot of content and a lot of very strong online presence. One of the ways I think part of our pivot that we're doing in the next year is also going to start relying also more on social media. And so that's the other avenue we haven't explored much in our business to reach the clients.
If AI could instantly solve one problem for you related to growth or lead conversion, what would you want it to tackle first?
One problem for me. Yeah, I think the first problem is the right lead generation. If that was possible, that would be really amazing. And I think the second one is more like once someone's in, as I was saying, is more of this, can they support them in between? Can they help them really implement and accelerate their growth because of that? If an AI listens to all of the sessions I have with someone, and it can also send automatic reminders to my client and say, hey, do you remember we talked about this and you said you're gonna do this with your partner? So here's a reminder. So we really our work becomes more effective and people get more transformation.
That's actually awesome. I like that answer. What's working especially well right now that you're genuinely proud of?
Our main website is called the Couple Center, but our methodology, the specific work that I created with my wife, we call it also Love Made Simple. We have another website called lovemadesimple.com. And I'm really proud and the insight and the tools and the transformational programs that we created. Just like I said, people come to our weekend workshop or weekend retreat. Some of them would like, this is our last chance before we separate. I don't have a lot of hope. And literally they say this to us. And they end up after only 2 days saying like, I'm hopeful. I can see the way out. I can see what I need to do. Now it's not the end of the story. People need more implementation. They need more support along the way. But to be able in 2 days to transform from like, I'm not sure if this is working, we should separate, to like, oh, I get what we need to do. I feel hopeful. I feel more connected to my partner. I think that's an amazing transformation. And it's been kind of years of refining our understanding, our tools and our methods.
Absolutely. It could also work really good for parents and kids.
Yeah, what we're teaching on relationships is very universal. A lot of time people take it to a lot of different ways. Me personally, I've worked also with co-founders of businesses. For example, my business is focused on couples therapy, but I do other stuff besides that. And this, if you have co-founders, for example, of a business, it's like marriage. There's a lot that happens in those relationships, and so there's different ways to take some of the same tools to different directions.
That's so true. On the flip side, what's been the most frustrating challenge that you're dealing with at this stage of growth?
Well, I mean, I think pivoting and changing direction is definitely challenging. We're changing the way we're thinking about our services. We're changing the way we're delivering them, right? From more organic search to more social media. And so this change, it takes a change in my mindset, in my team's mindset, right? And there's always risks and fears and concerns about it and money investment and all of that. And so I think, yeah, that's a challenge.
If you were starting over today, what would you tell your younger self to do differently?
I would tell my younger self, find good business partners early on, or
Yeah.
kind of recognizing, telling my younger self, like, listen, you like to make businesses, but your main passion, and your main skill is more in the thought leadership and the strategy and the professional side of the transformation. And so start earlier in finding the right business partners, and so you can really, soar more. They will do what they're in their genius, and you'll do what's in your genius.
That's awesome. What advice would you give to someone who wants to be a CEO or founder one day, but is still early in their journey?
I would say, in my eyes, it's all about your personal growth. It's all about who you are, because again, we get limited by our own beliefs, by our own history, by what we think is possible, but the paradigms we have. And so what you really want to do, if you want to be a founder or a CEO, you have to realize that a lot relies on you. And so you have to know yourself well, and you have to know what you're good at, what you're not good at, and get support in the places that are really important to you.
That's really good. What's the biggest win that stands out in your mind over the last 5 to 10 years?
For me, it feels like that the type of work that we're bringing, the approach that we're bringing into the way we work has started really influencing the larger field around us. Let's get a little more technical into the mental health field. And there's more and more understanding, for example, that the body-mind connection is really important. There's more and more understanding that mindfulness is a really powerful tool. Those are things that we've been using for many years and we're experts in. And we're seeing more and more therapists and providers are coming to us and saying, I want to learn from this. Like, you're on the innovative edge of this field, and I'm interested in that, and I want to learn this. And so I'm really proud of how we're shaping, and changing new generations of people like that and affecting more of the general field, the profession.
How do you do that right now? How do you package what you have in your thought pattern and your revolutionary way of thinking things? How do you get that out to more therapists at this point in time?
Yeah, so we have those two arms of our business, or two audiences, right? Like, our main audience is people who wants to be in good relationships. And so, for example, my book is coming up. That's one of the ways to get the word out. Our workshops and retreats is a way to get the word out. And when people come in, they usually don't expect so much this, but then they end up in the results saying like, oh, also I learned like how to think, or I heard how to be, or I learned how to be more mindful of myself or more self-aware. So they're learning these new ways of being, and not just improving their relationship. From the other side, for therapists and providers, we coach them, we train them. So we have specific trainings for therapists and for coaches. In the more of in the field, it's called somatic. Body mind is called somatic. So somatic oriented work of psychotherapy. And people come into us because they heard about it, they're interested in this, and then they learn that it's a whole world, and it's a very effective world and a very rewarding world of way of working on.
That's amazing. Looking back now, what's the biggest thing you've learned from that experience?
I think what I learned is that you have to stay and you have to do what you're mostly, again, most good at and most passionate about, and that changes over time. When I started on, just being a good therapist was a lot of what I wanted to do. And at some point it evolved as like having a business and and making influence to bigger people, to more people. That's what I want to do. And then later on, it's like, oh, I've created some methodologies and some strategies and some things that the people can really benefit from in the field. And so becoming more of a teacher and a trainer is what I do. Is so trying to stay in what I'm really good at and what I'm really passionate, and also evolving that over time. And so every few years, I kind of change a little bit of the mix of what I'm doing and in my next challenge.
That's really great. Giving yourself the freedom to grow and to morph and to expand your exposure, keeping yourself surrounded by the people that can help you continue to do that makes you your highest and best self.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Given that you're used to solving problems of all of these magnitudes, what are you most focused on right now?
And so I'm most focused on what I said about this pivot that we're doing ourselves. But beyond that, I feel like I'm starting to be, again, my next evolution, my next passion is more setting up organizational systems that will create more of that change, especially around personal growth, etc. So besides my business, that we're trying to grow and change and kind of pivot, like I'm saying, I'm also involved in one or two other projects of bringing my expertise and my wisdom of working with people for so many years in different fields, like more into just understanding this body mind connection in general, not just about relationship, and building a new method of work like that I've been teaching the therapist. I'm consulting with a couple of startups in the AI field and mental health, for example, trying to see like where this want to go and can I influence that in some way. And so really starting to think like, what do I want to leave in the world? What do I want my legacy or my contribution to be? And trying to see how can I start nourishing that by collaborating with different people.
Amazing. Really amazing. Tell us, if people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you online? Where can they find you in general?
Yeah, so our main website for our business is thecouplecenter.org. So thecouplecenter.org. We also have our methodology is lovemadesimple.com. You can also find us there. For me particularly, you can find me as Gal, Gal, at thecouplecenter.org. You can find me there. And then soon there's going to be just my name, galszekely.com. I'm going to separate also because I'm doing things that are also beyond the business. It's going to be a website that includes everything that I do.
That's amazing. Gal, this has been such a powerful conversation. I really appreciate you sharing not just the wins, but the true leadership lessons and growth challenges that come with building something meaningful. Your insights around problem solving, leadership evolution, and the opportunity to use AI more intentionally to reach customers and reduce lost leads are incredibly valuable for business owners listening today. Gal, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you, everyone. That's it for today's episode. Thank you for joining us. And if you got value from today's conversation, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time on Ascend Growth AI Podcast, where we mix smart growth moves with a little AI magic.